Hello everyone, welcome back to Nomadic. Happy Halloween! I'm coming to you today as the late, great Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a brilliant leader and professional in the fight for gender equality, workers' rights, and the separation of church and state. She is the second female justice and first Jewish female justice to serve on the Supreme Court. When asked how she wanted to be remembered, Justice Ginsburg said, "Just as someone who did whatever she could with whatever limited talent she had to move society along in the direction I would like it to be for my children and grandchildren." Not only did she pave the path for other women in government, but she made life more equal for people like me and the people coming in the next generation. So today, in RBG's honor, I am going to be judging milk beverages based on their taste, nutritional value, and environmental impact. I'll be comparing 13 widely available milk beverages on the market. I'm in New York City, and I chose the unsweetened versions of each kind. So, if you'd like to know the final verdict, then please keep watching. So we'll start by judging the nutritional value of these milks, looking at several different components. I'll split them up into micro and macronutrients, starting with macronutrients. Fat. Regular dairy milks have a higher content of total fat on average than plant milks, as well as higher cholesterol levels. Here we have whole cows and goat's milks at 11 to 12% of your daily recommended intake of total fat per 1 cup serving. Barista blends of plant milks also have high total fat content because they are especially formulated to mimic that creamy consistency of dairy milk, and this is achieved with a higher nut to water ratio. However, it's important to note the kinds of fats we have in the milk. Dairy milks and coconut milk have relatively high levels of saturated fat, while plant milks are more conservative in nature. Pea, rice, almond, goat, soy, and walnut milks all contain some amount of the healthy unsaturated fats. Elmhurst walnut milk having by far the highest amount at 10 grams per serving. Soy, goat, and pea milks following behind at an average 3.5 to 4 grams per serving. Consider watching my video on types of fats to learn more about the differences. Carbohydrates. Next, I compared carbohydrates. And remember, carbohydrates come in 3 main forms, and they all have various ranks on the glycemic index: fiber, starch, and sugar. Check out my video on carbohydrates for more info, but for the purpose of today's video, I'm just going to run through a few honorable mentions. Oatly oat milk and silk soy milk had the highest amounts of fiber at 2 grams per serving, which equates to 8% of your total daily value. Rice steamed rice milk has a value of 13 grams of starch per serving, which, if you're watching your sugar intake, you may want to avoid, as this will raise your glycemic load higher than compared to other plant milks. Oat milk may not be the best choice either for the same reason. Dairy milks recorded the highest sugar content at 11 grams per serving. The recommended daily intake of sugar is around 25 to 35 grams. So just 1 cup of dairy milk for breakfast can quickly become unhealthy if you're adding things like cereal or even granola to your meal. If you choose the unsweetened version of your milk, then sugar overconsumption should not be a problem. Keep this in mind when picking the beverage that's right for you. Protein. We all want to hear about protein content, especially when comparing plant versus animal, right? It's one of those consistent questions you hear when considering dietary changes. Where do we get the protein? Well, at 11 grams per serving, or 22% of our daily recommended value, Eden Soy fortified soy milk ranked the best in protein content among all the milks I tested. And in a 3-way tie for second place, cow, goat, and Ripple pea milk all contained 8 grams of protein per serving, and regular unsweetened soy came close behind, containing 7 grams. Already so much to consider with just the macronutrient profiles of each milk. Let's take a look at the micronutrients, shall we? Sodium. 8 of the 13 milks reviewed had between 3 and 5% of the daily value for sodium, with the exception of 3 milks: the So Organic Coconut, Mooala Banana Milk, and Elmhurst Walnut Milk, who had only 1 and 0% respectively. Now, there were 2 milks that had 7% of the daily recommended value for sodium, and that is the Silk Unsweetened Almond and Silk Creamy Cashew milks. Silk, we're watching you. Calcium. We have a triple tie for first, with each milk containing 35% of our total daily value for calcium in just 1 serving. Milkadamia Macadamia Milk, Silk Unsweetened Almond Milk, and Ripple Pea Milk. This surpassed even my expectations. 35% in just 1 serving? That's amazing. Next, we have rice and banana milk containing 30% of the daily value of calcium. Oat and goat milk come in at 25%, cow and soy milk at 20%. Vitamin D is available in most milk options, with the highest value in pea milk at 30% of the daily value. Second highest, 20%, is goat, rice, and almond, and at 20%, macadamia and oat milks. Vitamin B12, which is notorious for being hard to achieve on a vegan diet, is highest in macadamia milk, with 1 serving making up 240% of your daily value. Wow. Soy and coconut offer half of that amount in 1 serving portion, and pea milk follows close behind at 100%. Oat milk contains 50%. And finally, to sum up the micronutrient analysis of the milks, I'd like to give a special mention to the Eden Soy Organic Unsweetened and Fortified Soy Milk for having 18 different vitamins and minerals to boast on its nutrition label. I mean, look at how beautiful this is. And just by looking at the ingredients list, there are no extra fillers or preservatives, so this really is a great choice for those who may not have access to fresh produce, or maybe for those who just want an extra boost in their diets if they feel like they are lacking in this area. Coconut and regular soy milk are also strongly fortified. In terms of nutrition, I have ruled out 7 of the 13 milks purely based on the overall nutritional values, leaving us with 6 final contenders for the best and most nutritious milk: Eden Soy Organic Soy, Milkadamia Macadamia Milk, Silk Unsweetened Soy Milk. This is the original version, but I was using the nutrition label for the unsweetened version. Goat milk, Ripple Pea Milk, and Oatly Oat Milk. So let's move on to taste. After tasting the milks, it's hard to decipher which is my favorite to least favorite of these most nutritious milks, because I feel they could all be used differently. In terms of just plain milk that I would drink in cereal or coffee, something like this, maybe something I want a little sweet, the Eden Soy Organic Soy Milk is so freaking delicious. I was blown away. I would actually drink this in a small serving size, and that's saying a lot because I really dislike milk. Next for taste, maybe the normal soy milk or Oatly milk I would use for coffee. Macadamia is low-key kind of bland, but since it offers such great nutrition, I would definitely recommend putting this in a type of smoothie or mixing it in maybe even with your granola. But the taste in it of itself is not much to boast about. Ripple Pea Milk, you can actually taste the salt inside of it. So if you wanted to add that also to like maybe cream up some soup that doesn't have much protein in it, or also putting it in a protein shake, great option. Goat milk was far better than I expected. I was expecting to severely dislike this one and was kind of hesitant. I was like, oh dang, I wish this wasn't so nutritious because I really don't want to taste this right now. But it far surpassed my expectations. I'm someone who likes goat cheese, so that probably makes a huge difference. If you don't like goat cheese, it's goat milk. If you want to use that in a type of spinach pie, quiche, or even an omelet, goat milk is such a great option because of the nutritional benefits it has, and it's something different than regular cow's milk. So, now that we've discussed the taste, let's talk about the environmental impact each of these have. One University of Oxford study depicted so well the environmental impact that different milks have. Using global averages, they found that 1 glass of dairy milk produces almost 3 times more in greenhouse gases than any non-dairy milk. This chart makes it quite clear that above anything else, dairy milk is the worst choice for the environment. But what about the non-dairy milks compared against one another? I found a great article on the Huffington Post that I'll link down below, where Director of Health Campaigns in the Health and Food Division at the Natural Resources Defense Council, Sujata Bergen, gave us tons of valuable information. Let's start with almond milk. Almond milk is a much better option than your dairy alternative, but even still is not necessarily the best environmentally compared to other plant milks. The problem with almond milk is because 90% of almonds are grown in California where water is scarce, it causes more environmental stress than other nut trees that can be grown in other places. If you're looking to lower the water footprint of the products you consume, macadamia milk can be a good alternative to almond milk. It's still a nut milk, but macadamias are typically grown in less water-scarce regions, Bergen explains. That said, as water shortages and other climate-related problems intensify for Australia, Hawaii, and other common macadamia nut-producing regions, this could change. Bergen suggests that eating versus drinking your nuts may be better for the environment. Now let's talk about soy. Soy milk is also a great alternative to dairy milk and a great alternative to almond milk because it uses less than 1/10 of the water than almonds do. However, you'll want to pay attention to where your soybeans come from. Some soybeans, because of how much land it takes to grow them, drive deforestation in the Amazon while also displacing indigenous peoples and small farmers. There are other issues to consider as well. Some soybeans are genetically modified to withstand pesticides, which not only pollutes ecosystems, but is increasingly linked to cancer risk among farm workers. Further, the vast majority of soybeans are grown in monocrop systems. This means that there's one crop per large area of land. They use a lot of phosphorus fertilizers, which is connected to runoff that creates huge dead zones, which is basically a large body of water that is so hypoxic, watch my last video, that it cannot sustain marine life. There are dead zones in the United States, both on the Gulf of Mexico and off the coast of Oregon. But to end on a good note, since soybeans are legumes, they fix nitrogen in the soil, which reduces the need for nitrogen fertilizers. Also, the Silk Soy Company specifically says that they source only from the US and Canada, so you don't have to worry about rainforest destruction. Another legume is peas. Pea milk. Same like soybeans, this is a nitrogen-fixing plant, so peas don't require much nitrogen fertilizer, which is a good thing for the environment. Producing pea milk also uses far less water than dairy and dairy alternatives, and the greenhouse gas emissions are pretty low. There's not much information on the environmental sustainability of pea milk from independent researchers. However, the Ripple brand claims that while its peas aren't organic, growing them requires very few pesticides thanks to the dry, cool climates they're grown in, and are not currently genetically modified for herbicide resistance. And lastly, oat milk is a pretty climate-friendly choice with a fairly low water use, land use, and greenhouse gas emissions. The final verdict. The final verdict is, the choice is yours. Don't beat yourself up too much about which milk choice is better. I know sometimes knowing all of the information can make us feel guilty about our choices. What I would recommend is to 1, if you still consume dairy milk, and especially if you buy dairy milk for the home, consider trying out some non-dairy alternatives. Coffee creamer, for example. I'm sure a lot of you, like me, enjoy a nice cup of joe in the morning, especially when it has little cream and sugar in it. Oh, I mean, there's nothing better than that. But instead of your ordinary half and half and table sugar, what I like to use is oat milk, because it already has some sugar added, therefore I don't need to use the table sugar, and the creamy taste and specific taste of oats makes your coffee or black tea taste exactly like a cookie. 2, even with non-dairy options, don't forget to switch it up. Remember, excess of anything is never a good thing, so finding a variety and balance in our diet is what we are always striving for. And 3, Always remember to read your labels before you buy, and try as best as you can to stay away from the flavored and sweetened versions of any of these milks. If you don't like the taste at first, just know that your taste buds will grow accustomed to less sugar over time, and that will have great benefits on your health in the long run. Thank you again for tuning in for another episode of Nomadic Nutrition. My name is Shannon Manning, and we are officially out of session. Happy eating, everyone!